Humans of the internet, welcome to this level 15 interview with Jess, who plays Edith in the Gallant Horde, who has just hit level 15. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Thank you for hanging out with me and talking about your character, which I realize is every D&D player's dream conversation.
It really is, honestly. I was just saying, like, oh man, there's so much lore about Edith that like hasn't come out, and I'm
I'm
excited to
excited.
talk about it.
Me too. Alrighty. Before we launch into Edith too much, though, I would like a little bit of information about you as a player,
Sure.
and your history with Dungeons and Dragons, how long you've been playing, all that good stuff, what it means to
Okay.
you, etc.
Well, okay, so I actually started getting into it, oh, it was like early 2019, I think.
Mm.
And um, and a couple of things all happened at once. My husband discovered this little show called Critical Role. And so
Uh-huh.
I would tease him about it because he would have it on, and I'm like, "You're literally watching other people play a game that's so silly. I don't understand that. That's silly. Who would do that?" But he would leave it on, and it sucked me in, and I started like knowing nothing about what was really going on. That started to pull me in, and I'm like, "Man, I want to do something like this."
Funny, because that was exactly what happened to me.
Are you serious? That's so
Exactly.
funny.
And then I started watching it, and I was like, "You're watching people play D&D? What the fuck is wrong with you?" And then he had it
Yes,
on, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." Yeah, same
because
story.
because
Anyway,
it's
carry on.
it's so much about improv and
Mhm.
storytelling and like and as a kid like I loved role play and pretend and like theater and that kind of
Yep.
stuff, and so that's what really pulled me in was the passion and the storyline. And so we were like, oh my gosh, we're going to start playing. So my husband and I both have ADHD, which, can be really fantastic when we both hyperfixate on the same
Yep.
thing, which we were. So he really dove into like all the rules and the DM side of things because he was like, I want to run a campaign and got books. And it was like a whole thing.
Mhm.
So we started a campaign, and right about the same time, um, this is like the other thing that happened at once. Right about the same time, I had started a new job, and there was one friend that I had become friends with. Actually, you know her from Wolfenu, which is the
Mhm.
other thing. Um, and she was starting a new campaign with her friends, and two people had just dropped out, so they had like two
Mm.
seats at the table. Because
How
at that point it
convenient.
was like, yeah, like three of them, and they were like, it's not really enough. And I
Mm.
said, well, hey, like I would love to play, and we didn't really know each other that well yet. Fast forward now, and that campaign went for about 3.5 years,
Awesome.
and it was a beautiful story, incredible DM, and now we are all very close friends.
Mhm.
I ended up pulling Adam came with, and then my friend Marisol came too, and so we just kind of really bonded and made this excellent friend group because of it.
Yeah.
And it literally was like we laughed, we cried, it
Mm.
was incredible. So, like, thanks to D&D, I have these amazing friends. I have this fantastic hobby, and I actually just started running a campaign myself for the first time. I want to say about 6 months ago, and
That's
it's
cool.
based off of the world that I'm trying to create for a novel because I
Mhm.
needed to, like, I've spent too much time building this and
Yep.
working on it. It's been like over a decade. It's been a long time. And now I've like achieved that I'm too close to the project, can't see
Yeah.
the forest for the trees. So like let me try something different and then get my creativity back. And it's been a lot of fun, like play having people play around in this world that I've known for so long.
Yep.
So
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. What about the Horde? Obviously, you've mentioned Wolfenute. That's where you and
Yes.
I know each other from. But
Yes.
tell us a bit about how you ended up in the Horde.
Wow. It was a Facebook group, I think. And I think it was Chelsea where, everyone who was a moderator with something Jax adjacent.
Yep. Yep.
We
We have a
were
little mod
all
group where everyone,
yes,
yeah.
yes, that's what it was. And we were
Yep.
all saying like, here's where I know Jack's from, and here's where I moderate. And someone was like, I moderate in the Discord, um, the Horde with the D&D, blah, blah, blah. And I was like record scratch moment, like, you what?
You do
What
what?
is this? And I had seen you post things, and I guess it was just like not the right time. My brain was just
Yep.
not ready for it. And
Yep.
so as soon as she explained, she's like, "Oh yeah, it's this." And like we role play on Discord, outside of the games as much or as little as you want. And I
Mhm.
was like, I am there. Absolutely. I even had a character that I
Yep.
used for a friend's one shot, funny enough, on a Twitch stream,
Mm.
ready to go. And I was like, okay, let's do this.
Amazing. It makes me so happy when the like different things overlap. It's so
Right?
cool. Yeah,
It is.
it's great.
It's neat.
And I think at that point I was like, I went into the Wolfenute mod thing and I was like, oh hey, by the way, Jess just discovered I do this thing. So in case none of the rest of you have noticed, and that was how Rob ended up. So
Yes, which is
yeah,
so fun because, like, I knew him from Wolfenute for, like, a couple of years at this
yeah, it's been
point,
a
but
while
then
now. Yeah,
we hadn't interacted outside of, like, modding, so it was really
yep,
fun to interact as our characters and then kind of, like, step outside and talk about it, like, "Oh, I love
yep,
that there's this," and whatever. It's been
yep,
really cool. It's such a great way to build friendships because it's so personal and
yep.
nuanced, and it's just very cool.
Mm. Okay, so the Horde is obviously not your average campaign.
No. That's
Um,
so cool.
it has that like West March, episodic one shot thing going on, but it also has this iceberg underneath it
Yes.
of the Discord and all the RP that happens there, and it's very much an ensemble thing. In a way that you can't do with a campaign around a table because you can't fit 40 people around a table.
Right.
But that's what we've done. We have a virtual table with 40 people at it at any
And
given time, which is
exactly, like
nuts.
time zones. How many time zones are there? It's like
Like all of them. I don't
15.
know.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I think for the finale we had 8
Wow.
time zones. Yeah, because we have New Zealand, we have 2 Australian time zones, we have Europe because Lionel's in France, we have the UK, and then we have what 3 in North America, I
There's
would say.
4 total in the States.
Oh, well
So,
maybe we have
but
4
I know
then. I
there's
don't
also
know.
Canada. Yeah, who
Yeah,
knows?
but they would line up with each other presumably to
Yeah.
some degree. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so it's a lot. It's a lot. We just need some like somewhere between Europe and Australia, like that kind of Eastern
Mm-hmm.
Europe, Asian,
Yep.
band. That's the band we're missing.
We'll get
Otherwise,
them.
we have it all. Um, yeah. So I guess my question, we got very sidetracked there. My question is to you as a player: what is it like playing in a campaign that is so different to what D&D usually is?
It's
How,
I mean,
how
it's
has that been?
fantastic. It's a lot of fun, obviously, but I just it's it's like a privilege, honestly, because here are all these people that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to interact with at this level all over the world. And it's just so
Yep.
fun to be able to say that, like, oh, yeah, my friend's in Australia today, or like my friend's in New Zealand. And it's just, it like opens up a whole like friend opportunity. I don't know. I
Yep.
just really like people. So, that whole like
Yeah.
there's all these memes about like I hate people. I'm the opposite of that. I love people. I just love, I don't know, like just getting to meet people from all over that I wouldn't otherwise.
Yep.
That's really awesome to
Yay. Well, I'm glad.
me.
All right, let's talk about Edith. That's what we came here to do. Tell me a bit about where Edith came from as a character, like how you created her. Where
I
explain.
I don't remember exactly why this idea popped into my head, and it might have just appeared as things
Yep.
do. But I thought, wouldn't it be really funny if a bunch of like cranky old ladies, like stereotype old ladies,
Mhm.
were in D&D world? And it was actually Amanda and I were talking about it at one point where we were talking about like what our old lady personas would be. So I was already kind of like creating this character anyway, unrelated to D&D.
Yep.
Um and Edith was her name, and I
Yep.
do accents all the time anyway, and a lot of times my accents are, given names and such.
Mhm.
So I think it was just kind of like a combination of all of those things, and then I had this opportunity with my friend's Twitch stream, which they don't unfortunately stream anymore, but
Yeah.
they did a D&D one shot, and I won the lottery to, have a character in. So I was like, oh,
Mhm.
perfect. I'll use this old lady character. And I just thought wouldn't it be so funny to just be this like this like, you know, hardened New York
Yeah.
smoker lady with like, and she doesn't know what's going on and she's just here for it and she doesn't have weapons. Like who's gonna have weapons? And so
Yeah.
like one of them has like knitting needles and the other one uses her cane, but it's a sword. And so
Yeah.
that's how it started.
I love that. I enjoy playing grumpy old ladies, as you may have noticed, with Marla. Like that was how Marla came about. I was like, I just want to play Granny Weatherwax, but she's a furbolg. Like
I
that's pretty
love
much where
that.
Marla came from. She's like a combo of Granny Weatherwax and Orla from the Dark Crystal. Like that, not Orla. What's her name? Orla's my god. Oh, you know who I mean? The little. Have you ever seen the Dark?
I've not seen the Dark Crystal.
Got
Please
Orla in
don't
my brain now.
fire me.
It's fine. But yeah, like, so I get it. The grumpy old lady thing is a lot of fun to do.
Right, where
Because
they're
there's
like,
things you can say when you're a grumpy old lady that you can't say in any other circumstances.
yes, and it's just fun. Like
Mm,
deep down, that's I think who I want to be just as a human. Like I just want to be an old woman. I
yep.
like to cook and be in my house and I don't know, just
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. I guess from Edith's perspective, let's talk about how she ended up in the Horde. Like, what brought her to the ladies' throne room?
So the story goes that she's from this strange world called Brooklyn,
Hmm.
and she was at a market, kind of looking through some old books because she runs a little book club with her old friends. And
Hmm.
she opens a book as you do, kind of flipping through, and this paper falls out. And she's, ooh, because there's always cool things that fall out of books.
Yep.
People use the weirdest things as bookmarks. She picks it
Hmm.
up and she's like, what does this say? And she's trying to sound it out because it's like kind of faded and written in maybe a weird language. And as
Hmm.
she speaks the words aloud, she feels this tug, and it was essentially a spell that pulled her into the our realms.
Yep.
um, from there, she spent a couple of months. I mean, I can go into super detail if you want, but basically, she
Broad
was
strokes
able
at the
to
moment.
make it make it make ends meet for a little bit, and
Hmm.
some nice innkeepers essentially took her in.
Yep.
To make a long story short, and eventually when she started feeling brave enough to like, okay, this is my circumstance now, don't know
Hmm.
how or if I'm ever going to get home, so make the best of it. So she started taking jobs and being a little eavesdroppy. She overheard some people talking about it um at a bar and inquired. She was
Hmm.
like, oh, um what was it? I think it was they said that, the person pays well. They're a little weird. And she was like, "Oh, that's yes, absolutely.
I'm in.
100% done."
Cool. Um. So obviously, Edith is one of two Horde grannies, basically. Um. You've already spoken a bit about how you love the old woman thing, but talk a little bit about your that like grandmother relationship with some of the Horde members that you have developed.
Uh, um, okay, well, and it's funny, she has like different, very distinct relationships with different people. So Sherritt, who is Rob's
Yeah.
character, um, one of his traits was that he doesn't know how to read. He
Hmm.
knows like symbols and mathematics. He's very smart, but he was very embarrassed about that. And so the way we played it is she kind of picked up on the fact that he didn't know how to read but was shy about it. And so one of the things about Edith is that she back in her world did a lot of like volunteer work. Um,
Hmm.
and funny enough, one of the things she did is she would teach reading to non-English speakers. And so it was
Oh,
like kind of like a perfect segue,
yeah.
um, so that she kind of already knew how to work with people who were adults that didn't know how to read,
Yeah.
that might have those complex feelings. So she and Sherritt like worked together, and she started out by saying like, well, I'm going to cook something and I really love it when people read to me. um it just calms me. Would you mind? I go really slow if you would. And it just
Mhm.
started out that like that open door for them to have
Yeah.
that relationship. And then there's uh Marky. and Marky was her very first friend in the realm because they both arrived at the same time, which is
Yep.
kind of unusual and really
Yep.
neat. And they, in some ways, couldn't be more opposite
Mm,
because
really?
Marky doesn't, well, when they arrived, they don't have feelings
Mhm.
necessarily. And Edith is a big feeler, and she's
Yep.
very expressive, and she doesn't hold back. And she loved Marky immediately.
Mhm.
So they got their little huts right next to each other. So they kind of had that like neighborly relationship where she checks in on them, and was crushed to discover that they don't have a mouth, so that they can't
You
taste
can't eat. Yeah.
all of her cooking. But they did discover together that Marky can smell. So Edith will often make like concoctions of things and bring it to Marky just so that they can enjoy the smelling
Yeah.
process. Very cute. And then oh gosh, there's so many. I don't want to take up too much time just talking about them, but there's Alex. And Edith and Alex both really feed off of each other's like chaotic
Mhm.
nature, to where whenever they're on a mission together, they'll a lot of times smash a beer like beforehand or like afterwards. That immediately like
Yeah.
beers, even if it's still morning, like let's go for
Yeah.
beers.
Let's go,
I'm
yes.
ready.
Mm.
Right, that's her like wild grandson.
Right.
Um, and then she also has a very special relationship with Cora, who did her tour, and just it was almost like the grandchild that Edith never had. And I
Yeah.
really sense, like, how you kind of sense things about your character, that things about their past and their history, and then other things come up and it's like you learn
Yep.
about your character.
Yep.
And it was
Absolutely.
kind of like that she was very, very sentimental, and she absolutely loves Cora, and therefore Ardbeg and the
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
um so it's a very nurturing and sentimental relationship over
Mm.
there. So it's so fun, like how different it is with different
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Cool. Let's talk about the lightning thing.
Oh my god.
You knew it was going to come up. So
I
on
didn't
one of
realize it.
Edith's missions, she decides to steal an amulet, touch an amulet, and immediately becomes
While
cursed.
she was invisible, so no one could see her.
Correct. Tell me about that experience and what it was like for you, because it was a big story thing.
That was really challenging. Um, oh, I just it's like a train wreck in my brain of like I want to say seven things at once. So yeah, they're on a mission. She's invisible thanks to Alex, which was like
Mm.
really brilliant at the time. They're
Yep.
fighting this person who is, um, I guess, worships this lightning deity,
Mhm.
and I rolled really crappy, and so Edith was suddenly very compelled beyond logic to take this necklace, and like
Mhm.
player me knows what's happening and is like,
Mhm.
oh no. But of course Edith doesn't, and because she's invisible, no one sees her take this thing.
Mm.
And because of the role, she is very compelled to keep it, and that's also very against Edith's nature. She
Yeah,
tends to be very,
absolutely.
very giving, very sharing, she's a very non-selfish person.
Mm.
And so after, the dust settles and everyone's like, okay, like let's head
I think
back.
also Zen was feeble-minded, which also distracted people away
True, that's right.
from what Edith had done because they were focused on Zen and like how do we fix Zen and blah blah blah. So there was
Right,
that
because
whole
she
thing
was
as
acting,
well.
I think, a little weird because she
Yeah,
was conflicted, but like no one could tell. Right, so
no,
they're
because they were
trying to
yeah,
like quickly, okay, let's gather everything, no one touch anything, put it all in this bag, okay,
yep,
let's go, like get Zen.
yep,
You're right, and then
yeah,
they get
yeah,
back. And so, you basically had given me the details of the amulet and
mhm,
how it affects the character over time, and I thought I didn't want to just do like standard madness, because
yeah,
that's what the effect was. I didn't want to just do
yeah,
standard madness where she was just acting like a lunatic, like
mm,
out the gate. I thought I want to make her a combination of things. So over time, as she spent more time with the amulet, she started to get really like kind of mean, honestly. Like she was
mm,
very irritable sometimes. Other times she was just very manic and very excitable, and just like wasn't thinking straight. And that's
Mm.
kind of, I think, the bottom line was, when you're being like mean and irritable, sometimes you're not thinking straight, or when
Yep.
you're they went on another mission and it involved trolls, which are dangerous,
Yep.
and they had to sneak in this cave, and she's like whispering like sneak, 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 like just being a mess, and
Yeah.
often wouldn't remember it. And so that started tipping people off to like
Mm.
something's up with Edith, and
I
I don't
think you
really
were also throwing out
know.
lightning facts all the time, which was just
Constant.
beautiful. It was so
I
funny.
actually I Googled like
Yeah.
lightning
Facts
facts, and I
about
had them all
lightning.
saved. And she would say, did you know
Yeah.
that
It was
lightning
so
can
great.
actually explode a tree? And she would
Yeah.
just, yes,
Yep.
randomly.
Yep.
Yeah, that was another facet of the amulet too,
Yeah.
is the obsession with lightning. And so
Yeah.
she would talk about it. She got actually really cranky with a couple of people talking about the mission too, because she suddenly was very, very sympathetic
Yeah.
to that priestess person,
Yeah.
to where people were like, She was trying to kill us. Like,
Yeah.
why are you siding with this person? This is
Yeah.
not like you."
It was great. You played it really well. I
Thank
feel like
you.
you
It was
played it really well. It was very good. It was
Thank
just the
you.
right mix of like subtle and nuanced, but also obvious for people to pick up on.
It was very, very challenging because it was also uncomfortable for me because I'm not
You don't
mean.
like
I
being
don't know.
mean.
I'm not like one of those people that's like, I tell it like it is, like, no,
It
I'll
was
do
so
it, but I'll
funny
do it
though,
very
because
politely.
Edith would be like, "Meh, meh, meh, meh," then you see Jess in the out of character channels being like, I'm sorry. It's the amulet.
Right, like,
It's so
because
good.
you just also wanna make sure that people, because it can be hard to sometimes to
Yeah,
separate the character and
absolutely.
player, and so you just wanna make sure that people are also like, everybody feels okay too. I never
Mm,
wanna cross those lines. So
yeah,
it was challenging, but it was a good challenge. It was fun.
yeah, cool. And then you got cured.
I did after,
Yeah,
wow, it was a mess. Like, half the horde was involved. We went out to the
yeah, it was
woods.
crazy.
Everyone was yelling at each other and breaking out into groups and
Hmm.
having plans, and it was all thanks to, my grandson, Alex, who we were having beers together, and he was just like, "Something's just not right." And
Yeah.
so he did, I think, detect magic and detected it on her and went and
Mm,
got help, and then things just kind of
yeah,
escalated from there. But
yeah. I
she's
tried to curse
convinced
several
that
other people along the way, but
it, yep,
yeah.
yep, and then got locked away in a safe. And then
Mm,
she had to deal with like kind of the aftermath. She went on an apology tour too, because
yep.
people told her like, "You were kind of an asshole when
Yeah.
this was happening."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I was. I'm so sorry. Like, let me own up to this." Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was great. It was such a great piece of story. It was
it
good.
was fun. Thank you for that, because it was a good stretch for me.
It was one of those things where it was just like the dice rolls were right, and like I knew the amulet was cursed, and I knew that as soon as the priest, I can't remember her name now off the top of my head, but as soon as the priestess died, it would immediately try to, because that's the nature of something
Right.
like that is like, okay, well this thing's dead, let's find another one. But yes, now it's locked in a box. That's in a box. That's in the lady's vault. So in theory, safe and sound.
Yeah. I don't like that laugh.
Anything could happen.
It's
Um,
true.
Edith is obsessed with soup. Is that
Yeah.
because Jess is obsessed with soup?
Well, so I have pulled some traits from myself to play into
Hmm.
Edith, and one of my
Yeah,
favorite
we all do
things,
that.
you have to, right?
Yeah.
Write what you know. I love to cook for friends. I love to
Hmm.
feed people, and so I have like different meals. A lot of soups. I tend to actually love soup, but then it just like those were the easiest things I felt like to make in the realm, and
Yeah.
then I just really latched onto that and decided
Yeah.
let's roll with it. Um, I did actually, funny enough. So I guess this is not a spoiler, but I wrote a cookbook, essentially a recipe book for my dad. And I did a Google Doc, and it was around this time where, I was joining the Horde and everything. And so
Mhm.
now Edith actually in game has written her recipe book, and it's
Yeah.
available in the Horde library. And if you check it out when you're done with it, I'll send you a link to my actual
Yeah.
recipe book. And some people
Yeah.
have enjoyed that. So
Which is very cool. Like I love the fact that there's an actual book that you could get that has Edith's recipes in it because
because yeah, and
Jess,
I
Jess is amazing. Love it. Good. That's great. Um, so tell me a bit about Edith's, I guess, obviously Edith has now been in the realm for a while. There's
Hmm.
been a lot of experiences in that time. She's seen on some shit. Um, where is she at as far as she feels about the lady and the archfey and that whole situation? What is her where's she at? What does she think?
She's still, I think, s- still absorbing the fact that all of this is real
Mm,
sometimes, because where she's from, there's no magic, there's only humans. And so, she's processed a lot of that. And so she kind of has that mentality of like, I'm shocked but not surprised kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, and she really likes the lady. She respects her a lot,
mm,
especially like, Edith back home would be, she's very feminist. She's very like forward thinking. And so, like, yeah, lady in charge. Absolutely. I love her.
yeah, for it.
Um,
Mm,
right. Absolutely. I support it. And she, after everything went down, she's um, just excited. She's just very like, I'm just happy to be here kind of a thing.
yeah,
Like, she's in her late 60s. She was in, the twilight ages. Well, maybe not quite. At 60 is not really old at all.
yeah,
Um, but her husband has passed, some years ago. And so she's just kind of doing the retiree thing, and never in a million years thought that she'd have this like sort of second chance
wild
at
adventure. Yeah,
yes, like she was comfortable with her life, and she's got a very adventurous spirit anyway. Um, so she's just like, I'm just happy to be here, man.
yeah. She got to meet the son of Shakespeare.
Yes. Yes.
And out of everyone in the realm, Edith, I think, is the only person who really understands what that means. Because everyone else is like, oh, Billy's father was some sort of bard in some sort of world that Titania had a fling with. Like, but Edith actually understands
Yes.
about Shakespeare, um,
Yes.
and
Well,
like what that means.
that was a big moment for her actually in the library, because
Mm.
she
Oh,
saw
that's
one of
right. Yeah.
Shakespeare's books
Mm.
and was like, wait a minute. If this can exist over here and I can exist over here, therefore, does that mean I could get home if I wanted
Yep.
to? Because at the
Yep.
time she was still very much like, I'm just trapped here. I need to make the best
Yep.
of it. Shit
Mm.
happens. She had a very like rough childhood and everything, and so I designed her that so that she's very like, okay, this is what we have to deal with, so
Yep.
let's just go with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, and then so she had a meeting with Titania about it and asked her, um, only to find that like, what, someone related to Shakespeare is in this realm, like she just it took her a while to actually build up the courage to even drop him a note, because she's like, I
Good. Yeah.
don't want to be a
Yeah.
starstruck idiot, but I am a starstruck idiot right now.
He's such a sweet, like, when I made him, he's such a like sweet, soft being. Like he's not a fighter. He's very kind of humble and whatever. Like to him, Shakespeare was just his dad who told
Right,
good stories, and and then he left because he's a changeling. So he, got he realized pretty fast that Earth wasn't going to work for him. So he fucked off into the Feywild and has been running pretty much ever since for 400 years because yeah. Um and then this woman shows up and is like, "Yeah, 400 years later your father's stories are still." And he's like, "Oh,
right.
wow, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, neat. And she's like,
It's like, "Cool. He'd be really happy about that." Like
right.
yeah, it was pretty cool. Um so we've spoken a little bit about the people Edith feels close to and those relationships. Um is there anyone that Edith is not thrilled with? It's a difficult question because she's so lovely.
Jen,
Is there anyone where she's like, eh, eh?
I would say not yet, because there are certain things that would absolutely irritate Edith, but I
What
feel
are
like
they? What are the
um
deal breakers? What are the things that would make her?
she so her actual lore and history is that she is a little hippie feminist from our worlds. And so
Yeah.
if you can imagine, people, she doesn't like rudeness, but not like
Hmm.
manners and like prim and proper aristocracy stuff, but actually like just mean, disrespect.
Yeah.
And so she would see like, the big issues, which you would think would be obvious, but like racism or bigotry
Yeah.
or whatever, like that would absolutely put her off on someone. And she has no qualms about calling people
Mm.
out about like in her, how she would phrase it, like
Yeah.
being rude.
Yeah.
And she just hasn't encountered that.
Well, I
So
suppose the realm is not like that.
right, it's just
Like
not.
because it's a world that Jack's built. So like.
Right. Hooray.
Mm.
Yeah, it would be like the quality of someone's character. So yeah, Oberon, she thinks he's
Mm.
a dick,
Yeah.
does not like him at all.
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
and not just because it's like, oh, I serve this one person and that's the enemy. Like, no, fundamentally, she can appreciate why he
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Because
other
he
than
is
that, like, she
kind of
just,
racist. Well, he
yeah,
was. He's not
he,
anymore because now he's
yes,
Jean-Luc. So.
exactly. Haha.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I would say
No.
not
No,
yet. No one
I
has
think you're
done
the first
anything.
person who's ever said that. That's so
Really?
lovely. Yeah. I think
Wow.
so. Everybody else has someone that they're like,
I
cool.
could see that though. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so there's the goose. The goose has people that she doesn't like.
Everyone.
No, the goose actually, I have a list. I have a running list of like
Oh, wow.
who
I
the goose
love that.
likes and who the goose doesn't like and why.
Is it because of. Tell us about the goose. I'm really curious now. Sounds like we need to talk about the goose.
Uh, so the
Let
goose
me
is,
give some context first.
yes, okay.
The goose came from a game before Jess ever joined the Horde, which was a riff on Jack and the Beanstalk. The party went up, found this cloud giant casino, had to steal a magic harp, and along the way they encountered the goose, which lays golden eggs, one a day. And it is a grumpy as fuck creature. And the Horde being the Horde, they brought it home with them. And that
Yes.
now it runs around the realm. And when Jess discovered that there was a golden goose, that is a grumpy goose that lays one golden egg a day, that runs around the realm, she was like, I need to play this character.
I begged you. I think
So
I
I
made
was
you write
like,
an essay
take
like,
it.
please.
You can have the goose. Anyway, please proceed.
So so yeah, I played Untitled Goose Game. So for me, it was
Yeah.
like, oh, um, so okay, the goose has has a list of people that she likes. Let me pull that up. And a list of people she doesn't like and why, and it's very arbitrary.
Of course.
Um, and she is Fae, so
Hmm.
she's. I'm trying to play her like true chaotic neutral.
Yep.
All right, let's see. The goose.
I love that you have a spreadsheet for this.
I
Or
do.
list or whatever.
I
Yeah.
even made it like a D&D Beyond sheet.
Oh my God. That's funny.
Because I used, the card that you gave me, and
Yeah.
I added a couple of things. Like she does have one. Um, it was an attack that you had given me, but I changed it to Angry Boop. So like things like
Yeah.
that. Okay, where is her extras? Nope.
We came here to talk about Edith.
I know, but the goose is excellent. She's a good aside. And Edith and the goose haven't met, funny enough. So the goose loves Indigo because Indigo is very nice and gives snacks. And the goose actually followed Indigo around the realm one day during like a side thing.
Yep.
Uh, Tess, because Tess gave pocket bacon. Marky because
Mhm.
shiny. And Arter because gave fish cake. Garen dislike too noisy.
Too noisy.
Too noisy. Too large, too noisy. That's it so far.
My goodness, that's amazing. I love it. Okay, back to Edith.
Yes.
Uh, so obviously you still have what, 5 missions to go. You hit 15 at
Mhm.
the finale, correct? Um, is Edith going to Azuria? Are you carrying on with Edith?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we
Yes.
get to watch Edith go through those last 5 missions.
Yes.
Is there anything that she is kind of hoping to get out of this? She has already had a lot of weird experience. She rode a dragon.
Oh
Like
yeah.
she
Like,
on in the finale, she ended up on top of the dragon, stabbing
yep.
it with her knitting needles. Um,
Yep.
is there anything that she's like, I really does she have a bucket list? What is she trying to get out of this still?
Honestly, I think this point she doesn't want to go home now. Like
Yeah,
she kind of is like, I made the best of it while I was here, and how do I leave these people, like
yeah, She's like built a family now.
Right. So I think for her, the big realization has been, oh, it started out with like discovering the Shakespeare book and wow, I can go home. That's so exciting and that gives me a hope I didn't have before. Let me,
Yep.
finish these missions to now like, gosh, I think I am home, And
Yeah.
so I think she's going to try to either talk to Titania to see if she can stay in some fashion and be of
Hmm.
service in some other way after she's completed her missions. And if not that, she does have the innkeepers that she could always go visit. Or I did talk a little bit with Cora, and there's that little inkling in the back of her head too of like, well, maybe I could go work for them in their kitchen,
Yeah.
Garrett,
Yeah. Go and be their cook. Mm.
so, as far as bucket list at this point, she's like, I have done things I didn't even know I wanted to do. Like,
Yeah.
her main bucket list thing was like she wanted to fight a dragon. She was like, I've
Yeah.
got to
She's
see a
done that
dragon. That's
now.
so cool. She not only
Yeah.
fought a dragon, she helped kill a dragon twice
Yep.
while riding the dragon. So,
Yep.
yeah, she's pretty much like, I could retire and I'd be happy.
Yep. But she has 5 missions to go, and she's
Right.
heading off to this weird little world,
Yep.
which is going to be a lot of fun. Um, we will get to that in a minute. But do you have a favorite Horde moment? And you can answer this as Jess and as Edith because they are often not the same moment.
Right.
Sometimes, yeah. Often the player's like, "This was amazing. It was terrible for my character, but I loved it."
Well, that's yes. So for
Yeah.
Jess, it was the amulet. It
Yeah.
was that whole thing because it was everyone just did a phenomenal job with
Mm.
like storyline, and then from there it created things, and it was a lot of fun getting to interact with everyone like that.
Yeah.
That was very, very, very cool.
Mm.
Um Edith's favorite, I don't know, the dragon would be like very high up on that list for her. Um but also I would say hmm just the simple, like, day-to-day things of just people stopping by and, you know, giving them soup or doing her little soup deliveries and stuff. Just those very simple moments of, even interacting with the realm itself, where one
Yeah.
of her first days there, she was like, "The realm's alive? Well, what if it's hungry?" And so she fed it some of her leftovers and like buried it outside of her hut, and then it was like her first night there, and then
Yeah.
a bunch of roses grew around her
Yeah.
hut. That just like little tender moments like that for her are everything.
Yeah. That's cool. What about missions? Do you have a favorite mission? Again, you can answer player character if they're not the same
Ooh,
out of
okay.
the
So,
missions you've been on.
oh, as a player, I really did like the troll one
Yep.
because of trying to play Edith like a maniac,
Yeah.
and it was so like as a player, I'm like, be quiet. This is so bad. Like, stop. You're gonna get somebody killed. But, like also the challenge of that, the fun
Mhm.
of just being a lunatic, the
Yeah.
troll in the china shop, that was fun. And as a player or as Edith,
As
I
Edith,
definitely the dragon, the
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 dragon,
finale.
the
Like, yeah.
finale. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the one of the pieces of the finale was oh no, the seal mission. It wasn't the finale, it was the seal mission. I would say for Edith, yeah, that might be up there too, where holding the gate open and knowing like I'm an old woman, but like I'm still a bad bitch.
Yeah.
Like I can
Which
still
which seal
it was
did you do? Remind me.
4, I think. It was the one with the giants that were holding open that
Oh
portal.
yes, the wind one. Yep,
Yes.
the one with the winds.
And
Yeah.
and so her doing that was just, I
Mm,
think, very, very cool for her.
yeah. Yeah. Like you can still be a badass.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um, so obviously, I've in the last, I don't know how much you've been paying attention to the Discord, but in the last few days, I've been dropping bits about season 2 in places where people can have a look at some of the stuff I'm constructing. Um,
Then
you haven't read it.
I've been
I
in. post New Year whirlwind, like as you can tell, there's a new background. So I've been like, we built a new desk. I'm like
Yep.
putting together furniture in the other room. So I've been like full nesting phase, not on the computer.
Fine. You're allowed to sometimes not be in the horde, I suppose.
What?
Um, but I guess my question is, you're bringing Edith into season 2. At this point, Edith will be level 15, so she will be a senior member of the horde, in terms of experience and not just Granny. Um, what is there anything about season 2 and how different it's going to be that you're looking forward to or that you're interested in?
I am really excited to see Edith in more of um not leadership. What's the word I'm looking for? More being more of a guide and
Mm.
more, like can't think of the word or the words.
Like mentor?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Being more mentoring because she's kind of like that in
Mm.
personality and was back home where she's from, and so she's had to really like shift gears, and start over. And she's the one
Yeah.
learning, and she's the mentee and everything. And so now being able to kind of shift into that very maternal, very
Yeah.
caretakery role, I think is really going to suit her, and it's going to be
Yeah.
really fun to play.
Mm. It's going to be interesting watching some of the characters who are moving into that phase because so many of the people who have been in that are now gone. Like Morwen will be gone, Artur will be gone. Like all
Right.
those characters that have really held that position are moving on with their lives. So we have now Edith and Marky, and no, Marky's not coming back. Edith and Alex,
Mhm.
and like these people moving into that role of being actually we're the senior members now, and it's always fun to watch when people hit that point and go, oh shit, I'm
Yeah,
now the one people are asking advice from. Like,
right.
yeah, it's cool. Fianna, Hayden, like these are now the
Yeah.
people who are, yeah. All right. What? No. Before I get to that, is there, as far as missions go, we try to do a lot of things. We try to keep it broad and have a lot of options for different kinds of missions. Is there anything we haven't done or you haven't seen us do that you're like, I really wish there was a mission like this?
I don't know. They are always so varied, and I love that.
I mean, that's the goal, but
Yeah.
I'm just one brain, so I like to make other people give me ideas.
Hey, yes. I would love something really, really spooky and unnerving. I don't know if you've done it already, but I haven't seen it or
Yeah,
haven't participated in it. So if that
yeah.
appeared, I would be all over it.
Mm. We had
Um,
a haunted orphanage very early on, which was pretty creepy.
ooh, yeah, like
Yeah,
haunted,
yeah,
spooky,
yeah.
ghosts and whatever. I was very excited about the Bavlorna Bright Straw one because
Mm.
of her, relationship with Baba Yaga, who
Mhm.
I just love her lore
Mhm.
anyway. So that was very exciting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love
Okay.
I love stuff that like also touches on other like non D&D lore, like
Yep.
you know
Yep.
Shakespeare and like those
Yep.
little like nuggets, kind of
Yep.
like what I've been trying to do with Edith, where I don't want to you know, move the curtain too much, but it's
Yep.
kind of like that inside joke of like, I know what that really is, like
Yep.
that's just it's fun. I like that kind of stuff.
Yep. Um, you can probably expect a lot of fairy tale stuff because I do that. Like we've had the glass slipper, which was obviously
Uh-huh.
a
With the Jack and the
sit.
Beanstalk.
Yeah, the Jack and the Beanstalk one. Um, they're always twisted because I'm me. But yeah, like that's definitely a thing I like to play with is the taking those fairy tale tropes and just like
Yes, but I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, more of those. Please continue.
Alrighty, it is time for you to tell us so that anybody who has watched the whole interview may be rewarded by their perseverance. And if you just fast forwarded to this point, shame on you.
Yeah,
Um,
shame.
tell us something about Edith that we do not know.
She went to Woodstock.
Excellent.
Canon. She was very young. She was like she would have been like 13 or 14.
Yep.
But she had very absent parents and was kind
Hmm.
of wild. She had to fend for herself a lot as a kid. Had a
Into
really
Woodstock. What was her
troublesome.
favorite act at Woodstock?
I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know yet. I don't know.
Jessica.
Put me on the spot. Help. I don't know.
Go and
Um,
watch Woodstock and decide.
I know. The worst. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything like really juicy, but
Mm.
there kind of isn't. She has
She's
been
such a she's such an
she
open
has
person.
yes, and for
Mm.
me, like that has been kind of a challenge because all my other D&D characters always have some like crazy secret or something that I like partnered with the DM on, or
Mm.
like this. I had one character that was part of a cult and
Yeah.
was honestly a genuinely horrible person for most of their lives, and is now in their like I'm trying to become a better person arc.
Redemption.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I really wanted to play a character that was just very what you see is what you get.
Mm.
Um,
Cool.
like yeah, so
So no
there's
deep dark
not really
secrets, huh?
not really. The only, the amulet was fun because
Mm.
that was like her deep dark
Yeah.
secret. But other than that, like you ask her, she'll tell you. She's,
Does
you
she
know,
still dream about lightning sometimes?
yes.
I feel like
Yep.
that's always going to happen. Yeah.
She has dreams and she still has well, she wrote a romance novel about it. Um
Missed
she
that completely.
she did. She wrote she was writing it. That was one of the things she started doing during when her mania
Mm.
started to get really bad. It was called Love and Thunder for, obviously
All
some
right. Yep.
and then after she hadn't finished the book yet because we have the way that we do the
Yeah.
time for it, and so the curse was broken and she ended up finishing the book, and essentially it's basically it starts out as this like whirlwind romance where the god of lightning is trying to court the goddess of earth, and then I think it's the god of it's either this god of the sun or the rain or something like that,
Mm.
that is just like her trust. It's a very like triangle romance of like
Yep.
you have the really brash bold sexy
Yep.
one, but then there's uh the strong like dependent one, and who will she choose, and it's
Yep.
kind of like a metaphor for her and the whole lightning thing.
Yep. Amazing. You might have to actually write it.
Maybe.
Oh, all right. Well, unless there's anything else you would like to tell us about your delightful lady, um, that's pretty much all I have in terms of questions. Do you have anything else you would like your adoring fans to know?
Gosh, I don't know. Edith, like I said, she's just very what you see is what you get. And so if you want to know something about Edith, just ask because
Mm,
she'll tell you.
she'll
Sometimes she'll
tell
go
you.
on and on. She will absolutely be honest with you if she feels she's the kind of character that I try to be as a friend, where like you come to my house, I'm going to gas you up and I will always be proud of you. But if I think you're being an asshole, I'm going to tell you I think you're being
Yep.
an asshole. And
Yep.
that's very much Edith.
Yeah.
Um I
That's
aspire to
probably.
be like her.
Yeah, she's pretty great. She's pretty great. Has she ever met Marla? Because I feel like her and Marla would get on
Yeah,
very
they
well.
do. They are
They
friends.
did. Okay.
They
I'm
had
like,
tea
I don't
together.
remember
Yes.
everything because there's a lot. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they had tea with Marky at one point and were
Ah,
just
yes.
both very like doting on them, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for your time today and for hanging out and telling us about your lovely character.
Yeah.
I very much look forward to having her in season 2 and seeing how that plays out. I think that's going to be very cool. Um, and yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, you should go to Twitch and hit follow on our Twitch channel because over the next little while we'll be having a bunch of cool shit happening, but we're still scheduling it all because it was the holidays and we stopped, um, which was important. But
Yes.
yeah, so you don't want to miss anything. Make sure that you're following us, and then you'll get notifications, and then you won't miss anything. Yay! Um, Jess, you're amazing. Thank you for being part of this cool thing.
Oh, you.
And yeah, if you're watching this, you're also amazing. Thank you for being part of our community and supporting what we do. Um, we love you very much, wherever you are, whatever you are doing. Have a beautiful time zone. Bye bye.